Well, if there is anybody who's probably sick and tired of water and rainfall by now, it just might be Sissy Spacek, whose May Garvey is one of the stars of The River, directed by Mark Rydell. Have you seen as much water as you ever want to see in your life?
It seems karmically, I think that's just one of the things that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. And the last film I did, it was like buckets.
That's right, yeah.
Of rain. And
hip boots, mud.
Boots. I still have those hip boots. I'm going to have them dipped in polyester resin and save them.
Did they literally have you out from dawn to dusk and at night as well, just waiting around and all of that?
Mark was brutal.
Well, it's just, I dwell on this because these are the kinds of physical challenges that maybe we don't hear enough about that you guys have to put up with. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the shooting of those scenes.
When you read the script, it's like 10 pages, and you think, oh, that was a nice little
yeah.
dramatic scene, but then 6 weeks later, you're still waiting around. We had wetsuits, though.
Well, big deal.
Big deal. They have to, wetsuits have to get wet on the inside before they work against the cold, and it's...
any colds caught, anything like that happening?
No, actually, we all stayed real well, and it was really a relatively pleasant location, the farm.
Even though it's called The River, it is about the land, and it is about people trying to hang on to their property. And it's a tendency in Hollywood pictures over the last few months. Do you yourself welcome a picture that deals with these kinds of themes, this trend?
Yeah, I think it's a trend toward films about people and about relationships and about relationships to the land. And I think The River, I saw it again last night, and it struck me that it's a film about diehards.
Yeah. Well, we in the Midwest know all about that with our farmers and our lands and our storms and all of that going on. And I'd like you to just talk, if you would, about those kinds of themes, your own closeness to the soil, your roots in Texas and Virginia, and if these kinds of pictures speak to you especially as well as your audiences, do you think?
Oh, they definitely. I have a real strong connection to the land.
Mm-hmm. You farm yourself?
Uh-huh. We raise horses. But my mother always said to me, it's not what happens to you in life that's so important, it's how you react to what happens to you. And that's what I liked about, and what I like about Tom and May Garvey and their children.
In fact, your character of May is a very practical lady.
Very, very practical, very patient, and very what?
I hope it doesn't give away too much to suggest, and certainly you say it outright. Look, Tom, maybe this is going to be too much for us year after year, all this rain. Maybe we should give this lifestyle up. That's a fascinating scene.
I think it's Tom who's really got this incredibly obsessive connection to the land. I think May is the one who, wherever her family is, she's tied to the land too, but she's connected very deeply to her family and their home, but she's not going to let that farm and that river destroy the family, which is the real important.
Which is interesting because in many films that are out now, it is the woman who has this sense of purpose and family bond.
We're strong.
As opposed to the man. Now this is, what do you think about that? Why is that so consistently there on the screen? The woman who does this.
Maybe it's because there's a new consciousness that's not been explored about the strength of women. Maybe it's because so many of our generation have waited so long to have families. So maybe it's our generation who's taken the longest time to realize how strong women really are. I know that it wasn't until the birth of my child that I was able to relax about my own strength. I didn't have to prove anymore that I was strong because I realized how strong I really was.
All right, it's nice.
And maybe it's that.
With the time we have left, the ladies out there watching are dying to know what working with Mel Gibson was like.
It was great, but forgive me, all you, he's got 4 children. He's wonderful to work with. He's very wonderful. He's really knows how to get inside a role.
Yeah.
He was wonderful to work with.
I understand he was very, very careful with his dialogue, with the accent.
It was very jarring to hear him finish a scene and then go into this heavy, heavy Australian accent. So I separate so strong. I mean, he did an amazing job, because you're really the first person who's seen the film who's even mentioned to me about his Australian fact that he has an Australian accent in real life. He did such a convincing job.
There's an irony, though, in that I think one of the most powerfully, emotionally charged scenes in the river is between you and Scott Glenn, and it's all in whispers.
Oh, at the, after he brings me back from the hospital.
Yeah. Whose decision was it to keep the vocal level literally down like that? Nobody speaks above a whisper in that entire scene.
I think it just...
That's wild.
I think it just happened that way. You know, the scene sometimes plays you, and that just, if the emotional level was there and the emotional level dictated, I think that's just as loud as we were able to talk.
What's coming up for you on the horizon now before we check out here?
I just finished a picture with my husband, Jack Fisk, directing, with Mel Gibson. No, it's the wrong film. With Kevin Kline and Bonnie Bedelia, called Violets Are Blue.
You certainly are getting some interesting leading men, Sissy Spacek.
Aren't I, though?
Yeah. It's the funniest thing how that works out.
And I'm about to do a film with director Roger Donaldson.
Sissy Spacek is May Garvey, submerged in water some of the time, in corn the rest of the time. For KCTV5 in New York City, this is John Tibbetts.